You're listening to the latest dose of Bipolar Recorder. This podcast may cause dizziness and blurred vision. Enjoy.
Welcome back to Bipolar Recorder. My name is Hunter Keegan. Thanks for joining me once again. A few weeks ago, I got together with my friend Jeff, who I met in a bipolar support group local to my area, and we recorded another installment for the podcast. Jeff had originally appeared on Bipolar Recorder in episode 3, where he spoke about his wild experiences with mania and psychosis. Now at the age of 40, Jeff has lived with bipolar type 1 for about 20 years. Despite the challenges of living with bipolar, he has built a successful career in the tech industry. He has designed and managed apps for millions of users and is a named inventor on 3 different patents. He recently left big tech to build his new neurodiversity advocacy project called Bipolarist. This episode covers a lot of ground, but particularly emphasizes ending social stigma surrounding bipolar disorder in the workplace, as well as the challenges of obtaining disability accommodations and Jeff's ideas about incorporating new technology to improve access to mental health resources and research strategies. It was a great conversation. I think you'll all find it really informative. Let's go ahead and get started.
All right, Jeff, welcome back. How have you been? You were featured in episode 3 of the show, one of the most popular episodes we've recorded, actually.
Really? That's
yes, awesome. It is. It is one of the highest ranked, actually. So, Jeff, would you mind introducing yourself again for people who aren't caught up on the show? And
yeah, sure.
This is the first time meeting you.
Yeah, definitely. So, my name is Jeff Brown. I go by Bipolarist online on Twitter Spaces. You can go to bipolarist.com to look at some of the work I'm doing in this space. I'm a tech guy who's been out as bipolar since I was 21. I've got, I've worked in tech for about 15 years, and it sounds like I'm making my transition into full-time advocacy now. So Really excited about that.
What's spurring that transition?
Well, I recently sent my my farewell email. By recently, I mean a couple hours ago, to my employer, and everyone that I got the chance to work with there. I was working at a large healthcare company, and it was interesting. I had the chance to come into the belly of the beast and see what it's all like from the inside. So that was really interesting for me. I was working in an incubator, basically building something that could help people like us. And I got to learn about the way that they see the problem space from the inside. Really enlightening for me. But, definitely a valuable experience.
So when you said the belly of the beast and you were working on things meant to help neurodivergent people, could you be a little more specific about that? Like what was the kind of work you were doing? Can you talk about it at all?
Yeah, I mean, I've already been, I can talk about what I worked on because it's already been public.
Okay.
So you can check out my LinkedIn if you want to see more about the work that I do in tech. You can find it by going to appstrategist.com. Just click the link there. Professionally, I go by app strategist, right? And then I don't know how you say it, maniacally. I go by Bipolarist.
I call it by night. You go by Bipolarist.
By night, I go by Bipolarist. That's right. Yeah.
You're really laying it all on the table right now. You're like, this is who I am professionally. This is who I am career-wise. And this is the advocacy work that I do.
Yeah.
And like, I don't give a fuck who knows. Like, this is who I am.
I mean, it's important for someone to be able to live in both worlds, you know?
Yeah.
And I've been thinking a lot about mental health, and specifically about mental health, the stigma of mental illness. And I think a lot of stigma, it really is shame, and shame requires secrecy. So the more we talk about things, you hear people say a lot, the more we talk about things, the faster we can reduce stigma, et cetera. But I think really what ultimately we need to do is stop feeling ashamed of feeling different, and allowing ourselves the graces not to be perfect. And I think that the idea that I keep the secrets about how people have treated me in the workplace and elsewhere is a way for me to shame myself, because I don't need to hold on to that pain. It's more important that we talk about our pain so we can heal. And in the case of being, excluded on the basis of a disability, I feel like that's not because, like, I feel like I was excluded, or when I am excluded due to my condition, it's because of the stigma, not necessarily because of my behavior. And that's where that's kind of where I draw the line. So yeah, I'm tired of suffering from stigma, right?
Yeah. You would rather let those secrets be known, have it not be a taboo part of the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not it's not healthy to keep secrets, especially if you're keeping them for other people who are hurting you.
Yeah. So what led up to this moment over the last few months in terms of going through different avenues? I know you sought out disability accommodations for a while. How did that play out? And ultimately, why did it end up not being an option?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think a lot of people face this when they go through, like, this is a problem that a lot of people face, and they face it in silence, and they face it alone. And that's applying or requesting an accommodation for your disabilities at work or at school. In my case, this is at work, and it's something that I've done before. I was able to get some accommodations at a previous Fortune 100 employer that I worked at. They were reluctant, but I was persistent, and they were needed. So I got some things, but when I transitioned into this role, I was surprised to hear I wasn't able to get any accommodations. That was really interesting to me. I was a full-time employee. I should have been eligible for the benefits, and I was denied every accommodation I requested.
What kind of accommodations were you requesting?
One of them was like the ability to work remotely.
Okay.
So, I never went to the office, so I was working remotely the whole time I was there. But for me to request the ability to work remotely as an accommodation was not allowed.
Like suddenly there's like an issue with it.
Right. Oh, yeah. You want to work remotely. We can't allow you to do that. We can't allow you to be in the comfort of your home where you feel safe so that you can be productive. When you are having a mood disturbance, or when you know that interpersonally you're not going to be your best, and it's better to focus on heads down work out of sight. That's the kind of accommodation I was seeking. And it really left me wondering if that's even okay. So, lessons learned about how to apply for these benefits. We can get into that more, but ultimately, in this case, I was not able to get accommodations at this employer, and that was one of the final straws for me.
How long had you been trying to get accommodations for in total?
actually a month after I started, up until my last month in the office. So, and I was there for just under a year. So first and 11th, my second month and the 11th month.
Okay, so like 10 months.
Right.
I'm too high for this shit, man.
I can't do math right now or ever.
Are we both lit tonight, or is it?
So yeah, I had this question, this moment of crisis. Was I going to hit the pen tonight or not? And I hadn't done it since January, but I was like, you know what? Like, I need to be somewhere else right now. I need to like celebrate, but I didn't want to go outside. Okay. So I'd rather just stay home and like use my creative energy, because I've been really on fire for the last couple of weeks, and channel it into something productive. So this is a perfect outlet for me.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that it's a perfect outlet for you, and not to detract too much from what you were saying, but so it had been a 10-month process for trying to get these accommodations, and just no progress was being made at the end of the day.
No, it was flat out denied. I was just astonished. I re-requested the accommodations the 11th month, and they were told, oh, but you already requested these. I was like, yeah, but I'm submitting new documentation. And they were like, not having it. And that's the insurance company, right? Because you have to get when you submit for accommodations, usually a company, especially if they have a lot of employees, they have like a more sophisticated HR department. An insurance company handles the certification of your medical disability. So if you want to request an accommodation, the first hurdle that you have to pass is getting enough documentation from your doctors or getting a doctor that treats you to say that you have a disability. You don't have to disclose your condition, but the doctor has to basically authorize you.
Write a note of some kind, like an official letterhead or whatever.
And here's what's interesting about that. I didn't get a letter from my leg doctor. So it's not like they're gonna not know what kind of doctor I was seeing. So they're still gonna know what kind of treatment I'm getting.
Yeah.
So we have to think about like, what are we disclosing? And it's a perfect example. I used to work in identity, of like giving away as little identifying information as possible. There's an app called Yoti, where you can use it to prove your age when you're getting into a bar. Most clubs won't accept it, but there are a lot of these examples where you don't, just because you don't want to give an ID that has your address on it to a bouncer necessarily, if you're a nice young lady. So if you can avoid it, you want to give just the minimum amount of information. In my case here with the request for accommodations, my neuropsychiatrist was the person who applied my original documentation. They sent in my original documentation. So they know very well, even if I hadn't disclosed it at work, what kind of specialist I'm seeing, which I wonder what an insurance company does with that.
So like on this form that your doctor provided, it said like Dr. so-and-so, and then like psychiatric service LLC or whatever the fuck on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So they know what's up. They're like, oh, clearly this is something mental health related.
Right. And then some of the disability, and like, I know that like I wasn't able to get accommodations, but I was able to qualify for their short-term disability plan and FMLA, which thank goodness, I am grateful for that. But the disability plans have different clauses that affect mental health versus physical health. They treat them differently, which is astonishing. Because there's supposed to be parity between mental health and physical health. That was a law that Obama passed. It's like, I think it was called Mental Health Parity Act or something like that.
Okay.
Because what was happening was people were like, insurance companies were treating mental health and covering it less, like for less providing less coverage in the case of a behavioral health issue versus a case of physical health, and denying claims because they were like basically I think some companies were even like insuring only non-behavioral health issues because they were thinking about all this is like your fault. That's what structurally. So Obama passed a law that it's supposed to create mental health parity. But when it comes to disability programs and disability insurance, private disability insurance, that is, they can apparently discriminate on your claim, basically by offering different terms. So it's separate but unequal. Had I gone out from my previous employer with had I become like a quadriplegic on the job, or like lost a limb or whatever, and I went out on disability, and that would cover me for life if my job function was like, something that required an extra leg. It could potentially cover me for life, or all of a sudden develop Parkinson's or something like this. But then the clause that I was put under because I have bipolar disorder from this previous employer said that for mental health conditions, the period of coverage was 2 years. It was 2 years. And it's like, so what's the difference? I have a permanent psychiatric disability. Permanent. It's like losing a leg.
Wait, so your insurance plan only provided up to 2 years of mental health coverage?
That's right. So there's not parity.
That's insane.
Right. So here's the clause. The program that you're put under with this insurance plan is specific to the kind of condition that disabled you. And basically like a clause of the contract, that's where how you qualify is through the mental health clause or the behavioral health clause. And that clause specifies that those claims can last 2 years. I think it's before having to have an independent medical review. So I passed the medical review. So I was allowed to continue past 2 years.
Okay.
But you could fail the medical review if their doctor certifies you as able to work, and then have to come back to work or negotiate a severance with your company. And the other thing is, like, by that point, after you've surpassed 3 months of FMLA coverage, your company can let you go. They don't have to save your job. So you can be on disability, use it, get well, and not have a job when you come back.
Right.
Yeah. That happened to me at a former employer too. I tried to come back and they were like, nope, your job's been eliminated.
After you'd been out on short-term disability for a while. Wow. So you had that benefit coming in, and then once you were actually well enough to return, they terminated you at that point?
Exactly.
That is so strange.
Exactly.
Huh.
So I went to the EEOC. I had a pretty robust case. And the EEOC told me
Equal
Employment
Opportunity Commission.
That's right. Yeah. In the United States, we have a task force, like a department that overlooks labor issues to prevent discrimination. So I submitted a claim to them, and they assessed the case and said, they literally asked me, what would you like us to do? And I was like, is this not automatic at this point? Like, what? Can you just do your job, or do I have to tell you how to do it?
Yeah.
So, and then they said, they implied, like, very finessely, you should just take the severance package, because if we go through all this, you're not going to get more than you would get than you're been offered for your severance, unless you file a suit and then you have all the money to litigate it, which I didn't.
So you just took the severance. You were like, yeah.
It was generous, it wasn't the glory that I wanted to win a case against them in court. But it was generous, and it had a benefit for me to get additional training, which I appreciated. And it covered me for, I think, 3 months.
Okay.
So a 3-month salary, or like in a lump sum check, which I thought was nice. So
That's cool.
can't complain. No severance from this job, which I actually tried to pre-negotiate. Some of the career sites will tell you pre-negotiate your severance package before you sign the paperwork.
Wait. So everything we were just talking about was the employer prior to the one you left today.
It was one of my previous employers.
One of your previous employers. Okay.
Yeah.
So that time it was like you were like, okay, this is a generous payout. I'm cool with this. But this time around, not so much the case.
Not so much the case. I feel tepid with this, maybe tepid or lukewarm with this.
Okay.
I don't feel cool with it at all. So yeah, that's the case. How's your world, man?
My world is all right. It's going. I got a promotion at work actually quite recently. So I got a little bonus. I got a nice little pay raise. I'm doing well in terms of the corporate day job bullshit. I actually just recently learned that my position can be 100% remote officially. So now I no longer have to live in this very, very expensive area. So
yeah.
I feel very liberated right now, and like I have a lot of options and opportunities in front of me. And I'm kind of trying to figure out where to start there. I'm trying to find a house so I can set up a proper recording studio in it and everything. So
Damn.
yeah,
Making moves. Hunter's making moves.
I'm trying to. I've lived in Northern Virginia pretty much my entire life, and I'm just over it. I've been over it for so long. And I need a change. I just recently went out to Shenandoah National Park for a few days and was just like out there chilling on vacation. And I realized how much that lower stress, lower stimulation environment was really helping like my vibes, my energy. It was rejuvenating in a sense. And then I came back to where I live in this big apartment complex next to this big busy street and everything, and I was just like, god damn it. So
feel it again, right? Feel the stress.
I feel the stress. I'm just trying to find a place where I can settle down for a while. So it's a lot going on, but mentally I'm feeling stable. I'm feeling with it. I'm on an extremely low dose of medication now. Like
oh, really? Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm on like pretty much like I'm surprised how much this doctor has let me go down off of it, and I've been feeling really good as a result.
That's great, man. So the side effects must have been pretty bad for you.
It's not, well, it was all about reducing side effects for sure. The side effects weren't unbearable, but I was all about just improving my quality of life. Why have it at 50% when you can have it at 90% or maybe even 100% someday? So we went through this lengthy process over the last, 6 to 8 months of reducing my medications, and I've been feeling stable still, not feeling hypomanic, not feeling manic, just living my life.
That's great. Have you done any like exposure experiments?
Like what?
Have you traveled yet?
Aside from that trip out to Shenandoah National Park, no, I haven't traveled since COVID happened. Last place I was at was Los Angeles, and I flew back from there in February of 2020.
Okay. Because, well, do you have like, are your is your mood fluctuations, are they very cyclical?
They're not. No, they don't seem to have a rhyme or reason to them. They kind of come out of nowhere. I'm not one of those people who tends to always be manic during the spring months or always be
Yeah.
depressed during the winter months. It's unpredictable for me. And luckily my episodes are few and far between these days.
Mhm.
Um, I I used to think that the seasons and stuff had a lot to do with it, but for me personally, I think it's disconnected from that.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like I almost feel like there's multiple. It's like my mood is gyroscopic or something like,
Okay.
or like there's multiple dimensions of multiple cycles happening at the same time.
Mm.
That's like, it's exhausting when I'm aware of it. Usually it's not an issue because my mind's pretty stable. My mood has been really stable. Um, like within a threshold,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's very difficult to pinpoint what is the disturbance, if there's anything, what I'm sensitive to. It's always been, it's very much like a no rhyme or reason, and depressed in the winter and up in the spring, and usually in the spring.
It sounds chaotic.
Yeah, it can be, but it's also like, if the effect of the cycles is numbed, like reduced or mitigated, it can be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It can be interesting, and it's almost like if you were, I think of it sometimes like if a roller coaster. Hear me out. You know how if you are like climbing the hill on a roller coaster, and you
Mm-hmm.
get to the crest, you can see like in the distance, right? You can see for a long way, so you see the whole theme park, outside the city and the highways or whatever. And then when you come back down the hill, your perspective is a lot more shallow. You can't see for as far because you're seeing the immediate trees or the rest of the equipment or other rides or whatever. Um, I feel like getting manic and rising the hill of mood, getting hypomanic and seeing from the perch of my mind and creative process is a gift
Yeah.
sometimes. And if I were just to live at that level of awareness, or like um, vision, or whatever you want to call it, I'm not sure if I could handle it.
It's almost like in some ways hypomania, or almost like that sub hypomania level. It potentiates your clarity of creative vision, I think. I mean, I've been working on a new album lately. I've been, playing a ton of music, recording a ton of music. I've been in a very, very creative headspace, but I don't feel hypomanic. I feel like myself. And I feel like that's because I've been on less medication and I'm just feeling more and more like the authentic me these days. Like I recognize, oh, like you're doing this because you're passionate about it, not because you're in a state of hypomania right
Yeah.
now. Like
Right.
things are still under control. You're
Yeah.
still going to your job. You're still like paying your bills and taking care of shit.
Mm-hmm. I know exactly what you mean. That was the assessment I've been making this week. Is like I could see that I was hypomanic, but the threshold that I didn't want to cross is the impulsive and reckless threshold. Seeking novelty, or the sensation of novelty through marijuana, is acceptable. Stimulating that novelty part of the brain, novelty seeking part of the brain, is acceptable. But what's dangerous is seeking adrenaline and behaviors that put me or my financial stability at risk, physical or financial stability at risk.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm keeping an eye on the mania or hypomania, just to make sure that it doesn't dip that far. Feel like I'm being a responsible hypomanic.
Responsible hypomanic is a good way to put it, I think. Yeah, I hear you. How will you know if it is getting beyond the threshold?
Hmm. When I'm in a fluctuation, and I become aware of it, sometimes I'm more aware of it with hypomania and mania than I am with depression. I don't often know that I'm depressed.
Yeah, I find that too. I've experienced that as well.
Yeah, it's like your cognition is delayed or just reduced or whatever, muted. So that makes sense, I guess. But that's what happened to me last fall when I went out on disability too. Was like I was slowing down, and that's cyclical. It's cyclical to slow down like that for me. Like it's seasonal, right? That's where I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that my seasonal dip in mood, which always happens, is a medical condition.
Right.
That's the aspect of bipolar disorder that I think is neurodivergence.
Okay.
Because even if you're medicating it, you're still responding to the environment.
Mm-hmm.
You're in tune with something that other people are not.
Mm.
That's a skill. That's an ability.
Yeah.
Your body does something that other people's doesn't in response to the sun. I mean, how awful is that? That's terrible. That's supposed to be pathologized, you know? So that's where I feel like bipolar intersects with neurodiversity, because, some people draw a line between what they describe as like epigenetic conditions, or like, accumulated, or I forget the term, conditions, versus something that's genetic or that you were born with. It's, something like autism has a certain place in the neurodiversity spectrum, or Tourette's, or dyslexia, which is different than that of bipolar disorder, for example. So, or a traumatic brain injury, for example, right? So some people draw a line there. I think the line needs to be redrawn. That's my point.
Mm-hmm. You think that the neurotypical population is not so typical?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I think there's a lot more diversity, in neurology than there is probably going to be like, well, it also depends on what the denominator is, right? The range of, here's what I really think about neurodiversity. I feel like the brain is a lot, and our neurology is a lot more dynamic than we have the ability to interpret today. And I actually think that these conditions that like bipolar disorder or ADHD, I think you can see the same activity in someone's neurology. I suspect, right? I'm speculating that you can see the same activity in someone's neurology that isn't diagnosed or hasn't been like stigmatized with these conditions, or has found a way to cope with them, with those responses or that neural activity or whatever. Different bodies can handle it differently. So I feel like sometimes we get diagnosed with some of these conditions, or people point out behavior as unacceptable socially, but everyone experiences it. What we're seeing as behavior is a manifestation of someone's internal sensation, like what they're feeling, or like their internal state is creating their external state, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are all creating our external state through subconscious and conscious mechanisms, what really related to our consciousness, right? So then therefore.
Okay, I'm sort of on board.
All right. So but yeah, those same internal states and people that have these palpable differences, like that get pathologized as conditions, cause some people real pain and are disabling for some. So I think it's going to be interesting as we learn to measure our like pain threshold or our pain signal, pain signal and consciousness signal. All those things vary per person. So it's going to be interesting to see all that stuff start to, be displayed visually or phonically or sonically, or something that communicates like that captures how different we all are and how differently we react to the same stimulus.
Okay, so
It's
different metrics being put in place.
New metrics,
New
new
metrics.
methods. New methods. There's got to be new methods for measuring consciousness and pain. Like the self-reported or subjective measure of pain. You're at the hospital and they've got a a drip in your arm, and they tell you can push a button if you're having severe pain to get some painkiller, or if it's that's if it's really bad, you have cancer, a tumor, things like that, right? Um, but if you are on a dose of painkiller that's not in an IV, they'll come around and give your meds like once a night or whatever, or twice a day. But that's a subjective indication. They're giving you the medication based on how badly you're telling them it hurts, or you're giving yourself the medication based on how much pain you're experiencing. But there's no quantitative, that I know of anyway, method for measuring pain. And right now we're still figuring out how to map consciousness. And in theory, like all those things are frequencies and vibration, right? Consciousness, I mean, any signal in the body could be like sobriety, like all those metrics that they measure when you go for a checkup, and compare that to external stimuli that can be measured with microphones or lights or whatever, and you compare all those things, we're going to be able to like visualize someone's life force on a screen in a different way than we can right now.
Very trippy indeed. So it's kind of interesting to think about what you were saying with there's like pain is subjective. There's no way of empirically quantifying it. You're telling people, and then you're self-reporting this totally subjective information to a scientist, to a doctor, who's then making a determination scientifically using quantitative methodology to prescribe a medication back to you.
Isn't that how it works? I mean, I could be wrong.
I think that's how it works.
I think that's how it works, right? There's not like they have like they poke you and they ask you, does it hurt? What's their pain number, 1 through 10? They don't like put like a fucking like sensor and go around your body to see where it hurts. It's not how it works. So I don't. Maybe they can start to measure like your neurotransmitters, like whatever the thing, like how much adrenaline you have might indicate like how badly you're how anxious you are, right? Well, in order to do that, we have to establish how much adrenaline you have at your body at a baseline, and those are the types of things that we don't have in medicine. Is that sort of preventive medicine, those metrics, those baseline metrics. I joined Forward. It's a preventive health clinic where they do all sorts of measurements. They're promoting a lot of podcasts, actually. I'm not getting paid for this mention. Should be. But yeah, you can go get your labs taken whenever you want to. You can see a doctor and talk to your physical, your general practitioner through this app. You can talk to nurses like through this app, which a lot of insurance companies have. But this is like a more forward, progressive thinking clinic. It's like a subscription basis. So you can talk to them. You can go visit them whenever you want to.
Interesting.
It's kind of like a prepaid legal service, but it's like prepaid medical service.
Okay.
So, but those people, they've gathered, like, they've done they did a 23andMe for me, and then they explained all the things that 23andMe documents, and how, and like, what the likelihood of me having a particular debilitating condition or medical condition might be, and how that may interact with my current portfolio, right? So that was interesting. But I think like the more people get into like preventive health, and we used to call it the quantified self, and gathering their own data and working with their providers to measure that data, the better we're going to know when there's a difference. When something happens, we can compare all that data to what we're seeing now. And I don't think we have a lot of that kind of thing recorded, or a lot of people get that, have that baseline data recorded anywhere.
Right. So what are the next steps looking like for you right now? You've got this Bipolarist project that you're working on. I know you're working on an app of some kind.
Yeah.
What kind of cool projects do you have coming up?
Yeah, I was like, that's a good question. So I'm trying to transition more into this this advocacy and activist role. I think that my competency is in apps, and tech and in innovation, and that's what I'm used to. Is like creating a tool or a button. Basically, if you reduce what an app is down to, it's a button, a digital button. It does something. I want to create digital buttons that heal mental health stigma. I think that software has a lot of opportunities for us. And so advocating online, I'm a certified digital peer support specialist. I've got an app in development I call Peer Care, and continuing to work on that. I did find out about some grants that I may be eligible for come the end of the year to raise non-dilutive funding for Peer Care and some other projects that I have. So I'm going to work with the SBA and check out grants.gov to see what kind of funding I might be able to secure, because I have some other ideas too for adaptive technology that I want to explore. But Peer Care is more of there's more of that advocacy side of things, and maybe suicide prevention it could contribute to. More than anything, I think, is measuring outcomes in mental health. And that's something that seems to be difficult for the existing healthcare systems to capture, is outcomes. They don't know what happens after you leave the hospital.
Right.
No one knows.
Yeah.
So you got hospitalized, or you checked yourself in, we got you stable, you changed your meds, you left. That's all they know. Like how a credit card company doesn't know what you bought.
Yeah.
They just know that you shop somewhere, because they don't get an itemized receipt on the transaction. So it's like there's blindness. So in order to close that loop, new systems have to be created. Those might be services. They could be buttons. It could be take many forms. But I think that's an interesting place to explore right now in mental health.
Taking it into that digital realm, into the metaverse,
and capturing outcomes.
Capturing outcomes is really interesting. It's funny. It's like, I don't know about you, but anytime I've decided to stop seeing a psychiatrist, I've just straight up stopped seeing them. I've just never scheduled another appointment and never followed up with them ever again.
Savage.
Never have they ever called me to check in and be like, hey, are you cool? Why did you stop suddenly showing up one day? And I think
survey,
there was no satisfaction survey there. I just dip. But I know it's an ethical thing. There's ethical boundaries that they have. So they're not supposed to do that. They're not supposed to reach out to people in that way. But it is funny to me that for all they know, you either could be doing great or you could have fucking died.
Yeah.
And they just don't know.
They don't know. I don't know how you live with that mystery,
It's crazy.
You know what they should have? There should be like consciousness retargeting ads.
Okay.
Or like therapy retargeting ads. Basically, like if you're all right, an example of retargeting is when you go, when you view you go to some website to buy a t-shirt, and then you find out that later on you don't buy the t-shirt, and then later on you go to another website and you start seeing ads for that t-shirt, or that product. So that's an example of retargeting on the Google Display Network. Any property, any website or app that has a Google Analytics code on it captures your IP address and your browser fingerprint. And then anytime they see it show up again on anywhere else on the Google Analytics network, some other website, they send that fingerprint and IP address to the display network, and then you'll see an advertisement based on your previous browsing history.
Okay.
That's retargeting. So imagine if you had like your better self, or your like therapist, or your parents, if you're a kid, whispering in your ear and then being able to retarget that message as you continue to spend time throughout your day online.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, don't forget to do your homework. Did you take your meds?
And it's just coming out at you throughout the day. Oh man, I don't know.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It could be pretty crazy. It could be
Yeah.
pretty I don't know. Yeah, that could get dark. That could
Yeah.
get weird.
Yeah. That could get weird really quickly in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I was thinking earlier about a type of computer virus. Turns out it's been patented already.
Okay.
But imagine if you could create a virus that would take over the computer screen and then just start flashing intensity, like brightness and colors, brightness and colors, brightness and colors, to see if it can create a seizure. Because in some people, it's going to make them have a seizure.
Interesting. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a basically like a neurological weapon, isn't it?
I guess so. That's like, is that a bio weapon technically?
Is that like biodigital? Is that have I discovered the
Biodigital,
frontier of like defense? Cyber bio?
cyber bio,
Bio
cyborg.
Biocyber?
Shit, that's fucking crazy.
Biocyber warfare?
Oh my God. Well, we're coming up on about an hour, man. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you would like to report about? Words of wisdom, anything about yourself, anything you're looking forward to?
There is as I say on my website at bipolarist.com, there is no pill for bipolar stigma. There is no pill for bipolar stigma. I've taken all the medicine. I haven't seen one yet. So we've got to do something about that problem, because it's what gets people to the depths they get to, that they take their lives by decisions. So we've got to figure this out.
Absolutely.
Follow me at bipolarist.com, or the Bipolarist on Twitter, Bipolarist on Facebook, but the Bipolarist on Instagram, and bipolarist.com. And look forward to talking to you guys another time. Thanks, Hunter, for letting me on the show.
Absolutely. And we will add all of that in the episode description as well, so people can check it out that way if they would like. Awesome. All right, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on.
See ya. Thanks.
All right.
I hope you found this episode as enlightening as I did. Jeff's personal experiences with navigating bipolar in the workplace were highly informative. And even if you don't necessarily work in a white-collar environment, his thoughts hold true for virtually any workplace. Remember, never be ashamed of who you are. Never be embarrassed to speak up for yourself. New technology and access to online mental health resources and apps is already actively changing the landscape of peer support communities. Just think of how the Twitter Spaces mental health community has exponentially grown over the last 6 months. Speaking of which, be sure to follow Bipolar Recorder on Twitter at Bipolar Recorder, so you can get show updates and even join in on our Twitter space #MentalHealthChillZone conversations. They're just casual, unstructured audio chats about mental health, self-care strategies, peer support, just providing each other with positivity and good feedback and a safe space to share their stories. I am on Twitter at HHKeegan. Feel free to follow me if you'd like to. Jeff is on Twitter at The Bipolarist. And be sure to check out our social media presences, bipolarrecorder.com or patreon.com, if you'd like to donate and help the show keep running. Plus, get some awesome merch. And if you don't have a few extra bucks at the moment, just tell your friends about Bipolar Recorder to help spread the word. Together, we will continue these important conversations surrounding serious mental illness and help educate the public and reduce social stigma. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful and safe day, evening, or night, wherever you are.
Bipolar Recorder is a listener-supported show. To help keep the show running, consider checking out our Patreon page or visiting bipolarrecorder.com.
Unless otherwise stated, the hosts and guests on Bipolar Recorder are not licensed mental health professionals. Bipolar Recorder is not a substitute for therapy or professional medical intervention. If you are having a mental health crisis, please contact your local emergency services.